Hello and welcome to another episode. I am so excited for today's guest, Paulina. She is going to hook us up with all things about parenting. So, this is a new topic that I'm bringing to you guys. Hopefully, we will cover it from all the angles that will serve you. It's going to be an amazing conversation. We're going to talk about all the different ways that your child gets on your nerves and when things go south in the home, when there are things that are happening and you're like, what is my child doing right now? And we will cover all the different areas of why that happens, how to deal with it, and also how to relate with your partner at the same time so that it doesn't become like a major situation going on in the home. So we're going to have that amazing conversation and stay tuned. You're in for a treat. Hello and welcome. I am so excited for today's guest. I'm going to read her bio and then we'll say hello to Paulina. So, Paulina is a trauma informed speech language pathologist, family communication and feeding expert specializing in families living with autism, ADHD, language and literacy difficulties. She has a whole spectrum. She earned her Master's of Arts degree in Speech Language Pathology from CUNY Queens College, where she has held the position of adjunct lecturer for 7 years. She also has a Master's of Science degree in Nutrition Education from American University, which has transformed the feeding therapy aspect of her practice. Paulina's mission is to educate parents of neurodivergent kids to raise differently and let go of the shame and deficit focus that often comes with traditional parenting in some therapeutic models. This is going to be a rich conversation. Hi, Paulina. How are you?
Hi, Emma.
So
I'm doing
excited.
well. Yes, very excited.
Yes. And can I just tell the audience that I came across you because I attended one of your trainings and it was
Yes.
super, super duper rich. I learned a ton of things and reinforced a ton of things that I already knew, but man, it took it to the next level. So I was like, I have to have her come and hook the audience up as well. Very good
Awesome.
presenter. Yes, very good. So
Thank
why
you.
don't we jump right in, Paulina? Why don't we just go for it?
Great.
So tell us a little bit about what are the situations that usually show up that parents would seek this kind of therapy? And maybe you could say a little bit about the therapy that you do. So, just kind of so they have a context, a picture of, you know,
Right.
what do you do? What do you help? And why would they need you? Like what's going on in their home? Like, oh yes, I might need that kind of thing.
So it's interesting because whenever somebody hears speech language pathology, they have a preconceived notion of what that is. And when we start getting deeper into a discovery call, I usually get the feedback of, I had no idea that this is what you do. And this is the focus on emotional regulation first and foremost. And what I like to tell families is I give them a quick explanation of what it is that the word speech means and
Mhm.
what language is, and the fact that I specialize in the language aspect of it, which comes with just not just knowledge of words, it also comes with what happens when we use certain words and how does our
Mhm.
brain interpret that. And then it becomes with, especially for neurodivergent kids, I specialize in autism and ADHD.
Mhm.
When there are certain words that are coming into their brains, the way that they are interpreting it and the way that it's landing for them is very different because they're wired differently. So when we can change how we use words and how we use language, then the reaction changes. So
Lovely.
it's usually that parents come in now more so with there's a behavior problem, there's like hitting or kicking, or they're not listening. One of my favorites is they're choosing not to listen. And I go, okay, well, what does choosing not to listen look like? Well, they're ignoring me. I go,
Mhm.
okay, are you talking at them? Like, what do you mean by ignoring?
Mm.
Because when you're saying ignoring and your child is not paying attention to you, to attend is an executive function skill. And
Right.
if you're asking them to do something that they don't have the capacity to do, now everybody's frustrated.
Right. And it's as simple as how you're speaking, even, right? So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of other things that we're going to offer here, but just from what you just said, yeah, we don't pay attention, right? Like we think that they're just on the same page with us and we're just kind of dragging them along sometimes, like, come on, do this, do that, right? So I hear this from parents all the time. Like they're just dictating instructions for the kid to go do all these things, right? And they're not listening, they're not paying attention, they're not carrying through, or they're being extremely disrespectful, like even to like, they're doing this kind of things to the parents. And it's like, okay, what is going on? Right? So, yeah, very good. So, now what is your primary way of working with kids and families? I know that your website and the work that you've shared that I know that you do is a lot of play. So, can you say more about
Yes,
that? And is there more to it?
definitely. So play is not just for toddlers. Play is designed to start in infancy and go take you all the way through adolescence and into your adulthood. And I
Yes.
think sometimes that's really lost because adults also need their own version of play to then be able to connect to how kids play. And there
Mm,
are so many different levels of play and play dynamics. And people often ask, well, it's not something that can be measured, right? Like, how do you put it on a chart or a graph so I can see progress? And it's more qualitative. It's the
mm,
quality and the richness of the play experience that I look for. And there are certain developmental domains within play, and it's how you start with those basic problem solving skills and then get to higher levels of like knowledge and learning and theory of mind, and that's all within play. You can't reach, like, you can't go meta, and it's something that I know I talk about often. You can't go meta, which is thinking outside of yourself, and the respect piece that you said, right? In order to understand what that's really like and to gain a sense of, well, what does disrespectful even mean?
mm,
You have to have insight into how your actions affect other people. And then when you do act a certain way or you say something, that how can it be perceived or misperceived? That's a much higher level skill that some adults don't have, right?
right.
So the expectation, then it becomes a huge expectation gap for families. And then families struggle because they have this expectation that their, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old is going to act a certain way. And this is what the child needs to do. And I'm coming and saying, well, how are you responding as the adult?
Mm,
Are you giving them the opportunity to really figure out what's going on for them instead of coming in and I'm going to fix it and tell you what to do?
yes. Yes.
So
Very good.
there's a lot more to play than just a toy. And I also say this to parents all the time, like, yes, I have resources and toys at the office, and yet the toy doesn't matter. Like, the object doesn't matter. It can be a paper cup or a cardboard box, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. It's the intention behind it that matters. It's like, what is the child coming in with? What ideas do they have? And how can they show me what their intention is? And
Mhm.
it's like a dance. It's very much that back and forth process. And I had a new parent ask me in session yesterday, as like she was really observing, well, our play. She goes, well, how do you know when to push a little and to encourage? And then how do you know when to pull back? Like, how do you actually know? And it's a skill. Like, I've been doing this for 15 years. That's how I know. So I can show you and I can definitely teach you, because that's really the goal. Like, therapy isn't something that's done to kids, right? Therapy doesn't happen in a bubble.
Right.
It's more like the parents become an extension of me. And then what happens really interestingly for the kids is that they start using the same language that we use in therapy. They start talking about their ideas and the thoughts that they have in mind, and how they then actually have disagreements that are constructive, instead of having a meltdown moment, even though those meltdown moments are going to happen. It's not like the work isn't eliminating them, because we're going to have
Mm.
frustration, and it's more about, how do I handle it? How do I know when to then advocate for myself and seek support, very specifically to let somebody know, I'm at capacity today. I need you to take care of something that seems really simple. I don't have enough in me to do it today. And it's the same thing for couples also. And when parents co-parent, right? Somebody, we're not built to have the same capacity every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I said the same thing to the mom. I go, when your phone gets overheated, and it's actually dangerous to have it heat up to that level, and the phone itself will tell you to put it down and let it cool off. Go, your child also needs a cool off period.
I
And
love
so do
it.
you.
Yes, and I love that you brought in the couple, because yeah, this is how partners can support each other. Like, they don't both need to be involved. We could talk more about that as we go. But also in that moment when one gets tapped out or really starts getting frustrated or trigger themselves, it's okay to not continue. Like, you could have your partner support you, and we maybe talk about that, how to do that efficiently, so there's less chaos and escalation in the family. But that was beautiful. So play is very significant. It's not just moving pieces around on a board or playing with dollies and
Right.
having them drink tea. There's so much more stuff going on, right? So they're bringing in, they're showing their level of development. They're showing if they're thinking. They're showing, like, you tell me, like, what are you seeing it through play that parents, so parents know how important play is.
Yeah. So I'm looking at levels of sophistication,
Right.
and I'm looking at, is it coming down to cause and effect play? Because that's also important and
Mhm.
it needs to happen. Is it then just physical play? That's part of development too. That what happens when, what it looks like when a child is out of ideas. And that's something that is really important to pinpoint. So parents often say, well, all of a sudden, and I love the all of a sudden. I go, really? Like, is it really all of a sudden?
Right.
That it's like, well, all of a sudden they get silly. I go,
Mm.
okay. And then they tend to use that term of, oh, you're being so silly. Right. So then you're attributing silly to their state of being. So now the child is a silly child. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, so that silliness that you're seeing, that's dysregulation. And when
Excellent.
you pinpoint it and you go, do you notice when exactly it happens? It's when the challenge is too big, or when the child doesn't know how to continue the play because they haven't had enough experience to take one idea and make it last. And then ideas then end all of a sudden. And sometimes the all of a sudden for younger kids looks like they're building, I don't know, they're playing with magnets, and then all of a sudden they crash the tower.
Mhm.
Right? That all of a sudden means I don't know what else to do.
Right.
I don't know where else to take this.
Mhm.
And then other times it looks like I've had kids just run away, where the play becomes so complex and now there's language involved, and the complexity I'm talking about is now we're taking on the roles of the characters.
Mhm.
And when you become the character, then it's also thinking thinking becomes multi-causal.
Right.
Right? It's how do I become a character and also pull back so that I'm the character and myself at the same time. So when I become a character and I wreck things as characters do, and I get this shocked reaction, I go, that wasn't me. Like that was the dinosaur.
Hmm.
I don't know what happened. Like, how do we handle that kind of an obstacle? And it usually starts with, that's where you see the meltdowns or the tantrums, however you want to call them, because it's the where it comes from is the unexpected. Right? And often I get either like feedback from, social media or parents asking, well, shouldn't, right? The shouldn'ts, like, shouldn't the kids be ready for the world? I go, okay, at 3, like, the world is going to tell them no all the time. I
Mhm.
go, great. He's also 5, like, chronologically. Right. And we really have to consider that social emotional development, because a chronological 5-year-old can also be social emotionally at toddler level. So there's this expectation of, they're so smart, shouldn't they know? And I'm going, right. They have certain capacities. What about the others?
Excellent.
So that's one of the toughest, I think, for parents, when kids have a lot of sophisticated language and they're very verbal, and there's, they know that there's high intelligence, and they go, well, how come they can't handle the smallest change? Like,
Mhm.
why is it that things just have to be the same? And my feedback is, well, what is it like for you when I completely change your entire day? Like,
Yeah, we don't
you
like
like
that.
routine too. You like routine too. What happens when you're on your way to the office and all of a sudden there is a car accident, or all of a sudden there's a traffic jam and the lane is closed? The first thing you do is you're going to get really dysregulated. Like,
Mhm.
what's going on? How come this is happening? And the
Mhm.
best way, actually, that I like to people watch at airports, people get dysregulated at airports all the time,
Oh, yeah.
where it's like, it's not the attendant's fault that the plane is late.
Right.
Like, I understand that you have a connecting flight. I might have one also. And you going off on this attendant to ask her, how come, like, this is where I need to go? How come the plane is late? I'm not sure if that's really going to get you an answer. So that is a dysregulated adult who can then, let's say that dysregulated adult also meets a dysregulated child. That is a volcanic eruption waiting to happen. Like, there's no way that a adult who is dysregulated to such a degree can also regulate a child at the same time.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. So let's go back for a second to the play thing, and then we'll continue with this regulation conversation. I love that. So in play, some of the things are the sophistication. How many ideas do they have? Can they take the idea to the next level? Can they take on characters, and can they differentiate that and hold on to different things at the same time? So there's a lot of different aspects there that most
Yes.
parents are not aware of, that this is what play is and what's
Yes.
involved, and that the more that that's done, and that the more that it gets developed, that the child is doing better or developing. And that when you see the meltdowns, or the little change in the kid throws a tantrum, or they start saying no, and we could talk about that too, then these are just examples of they hit a wall to some degree,
Right.
and helping them, maybe we could talk about that too. How do we get past that, as opposed to calling them silly, and now they don't even
Hmm.
understand what's going on for them, and that they could get past that, not they're just silly. So this weird associations are happening, right? So we think that we're the best
Yes.
parents. Oh, you're so silly. We think it's cute, but what are we doing,
Right.
right? Very interesting. So the message sounds really early, even like in the most innocuous ways, messaging about self,
Exactly.
about feelings, about body, about all the things. So very interesting. So then that leads us more into the self-regulation and dysregulation. If the parents are getting agitated when that's happening, the child's already agitated because they hit a wall in terms of what they could do. Now the parents that's getting triggered and agitated themselves because the child's acting out or whatever they're doing. So
Right.
now what? So now what?
So that one. So it's a great question. Sometimes it depends, because what I am not for is putting a child in some kind of a timeout, or going, well, like because what you're saying is, I've had enough of your nonsense, right? And it's not nonsense, where it's like, my nervous system cannot handle your nervous system. So I'm going to put you in timeout so that your little nervous system can figure it out by itself. Like, that is harsh. Like, and that's what's happening, right? That's what the timeouts are. Yes. It's like, my adult nervous system doesn't have enough capacity for you. And your little nervous system doesn't have enough experience to figure out what to do with the struggle. And I'm going to leave you to it on your own anyway. And then the comment is, when you're ready, then you can talk to me, which means that now our relationship has a condition. And I will only show up for you when you behave. Right. And then when relationships become conditional, then like, it's dangerous when relationships are based on that kind of a condition.
It's so interesting. Just as you said that, I'm thinking like, I could just hear parents saying like, yeah, what's wrong with that? They should be respectful. They should listen. They should be conditional. They should behave. They shouldn't do all these things. Right. But what you just said, oh, that really like, ooh, right. And I'm hearing it from a therapist place. Of course, I'm not sure if it was that impactful for the audience. Hopefully they could hear that condition has all kinds of messaging around that. And that's why we're in therapy as adults, we're doing all kinds of deconditioning now. Right. Yeah. So go right ahead. What were we going to say?
Because it also comes from the way that parents were parented themselves. Right. Oh. And I'm, very comfortable telling parents like, yes, I have, over 15 years of experience working with kids. I don't have to be a parent myself. Right. I have been a child, right, and continue to be a child of parents. And I also know what it's like to have been parented. Right. And then the more insight that you gain, right, therapeutically, there's a reason that like I could connect to very specific kids because you can also like see a little bit of yourself in what's going on in them. And that's the hardest part for parents to notice, where like what's happening is a reflection of something that's going on for you. So like when there's talk back, right? When kids go, especially like, I hate you, right? You're the worst. Like that's the knee-jerk reaction is, I do everything for you. Right. Well, you're the parent. Yes.
That's your job.
I take you. That's your job. Or it's like, you're so ungrateful, right? I take you everywhere. Like, remember all the places that I take you to. And then it becomes, if you don't behave, we're never going again. Right. So it's this all of a sudden reminder, and you're holding your parenting over the child's head saying, oh, I do all of these things for you. Yes, you're the parent. It's your role. You also don't have to prove, and you're the adult, and you also don't have to constantly prove that you're in charge. Because then that comes to like,
can you say that again, please?
Yes. You don't have to, you're already in charge. You don't have to constantly prove that you're in charge.
Wow. Yes, people are going to love that.
But it's coming from a place of, well, like, then what? Right? Like, how do I get them to stop? Or how do I get them to listen? And it's less about how do I get them to stop and more about like, how do I stay regulated in that moment? And the hardest thing is, how do I not take it personally? And I have parents asking me that all the time. How come is it that kids are telling you, like, I had a 6-year-old become like really dysregulated because the challenge was tough. Like what we were doing was harder for her. And like she threw a block at me and I go, okay, well, it looks like the blocks stay on the floor, right? Versus like, you're not allowed to throw. And then she went into a very interesting monologue of, my mom doesn't like you, and I
Mhm.
like my mom more. I don't want to be here anymore. And then it becomes, you're not pretty. I don't like your shirt. Like all of these things,
Wow,
like
all the things.
whatever she could come up with. And then, I let the monologue go and I'm still sitting there with her. And then when she pauses you have to find that opening, right? That pause. So she pauses and like really tunes into my reaction. And my response is, yeah, this was really hard. And then the other part is, I hear it in what you're telling me. What you're actually telling me is what we are figuring out today, you're not really sure about. So I get it. This was a tough one, right? So it's really about like the interpretation. And mom asked me, she goes, all the things she said to you, like, shouldn't you make her
Mhm.
apologize? Right? You tell her that she has to be sorry? And I go, for what? For being dysregulated?
Oh my goodness, so good, Paulina, so good. Can I just tell you that little segment there, it's massively impactful because y parents can't tolerate children being disrespectful to adults and not to
I know.
themselves, and "I hate you," and "You look ugly," and whatever, all these things. Are you kidding? Right? And when they say it to other people, that's shameful for the parent, like, "Oh my gosh, my kid is being a
Right.
brat," right? So all these things come up, and what you just role model there, not only for the kid, but for the parent, oh my goodness, right? Massive. And I love that if people have a hard time understanding how to do that or what that was, what I'm hearing is that don't listen to the words. It's not the words. What is happening, right? The
Right.
child is dysregulated. They're acting out. They're just, I don't even know what to call it, like meltdown. I think you used before, right? They're just having a moment. It's not the words. The words are just telling you that they're dysregulated. They can't say I'm dysregulated. I don't feel so good. I don't know how to do this, right? So they're just going to come out with anything that they could think of just to change the moment. But if we stay in the moment, right, and we address the
Yeah.
moment, not all the junk that's coming,
Yes.
powerful.
Yes. And it really is about staying in the moment, because then that's how you build that self awareness. And
Mhm.
it can be built. It doesn't just all of a sudden start when I'm working with a team, right? Like, it's not that, oh, we're going to start building self awareness at 12. No, no, we're going to start building it as soon as possible.
Right, right, of course.
We're going to start building it soon as possible, because then there's a recognition. Like, and when kids really begin to understand like something's going on internally, and that's the reason that like this is what I'm doing. I had a younger child also become like, it's such a great example of self-awareness, where the dysregulation came because we were building something separately.
Mm,
I had like some kind of like magnetic tower going. He had one. And there are so many different little components because he also has a hard time building. Like, his language is actually pretty sophisticated. It's a dual diagnosis of ADHD and autism. And there's also a like that emotional dysregulation component. So what happens, and this is going to get just a little technical, because in play, there's also a motor planning piece.
mm,
Sometimes kids get stuck in play because of the way that like the brain is sending messages to the body to move,
mhm,
and they can get stuck in one place. So what that looks like is either only building towers up and not out,
mm.
right? Or like doing what it looks like is like, well, they're doing the same thing over and over again. I go, right, let's take a look at how their body is moving. Are they
Mm.
actually walking around that train track and figuring out how it appears from different sides? Or are they just static and sitting? So what
Nice.
happens, right? Well, so there's like, again, there's so much more that I'm looking for inside the play. So what
Sure.
happens with this little guy is, not only does he have a hard time building, right? My building was going up faster than his, and
Oh, no.
he knocked him. Oh no, right? So he knocked mine over. he's like, we're not doing this anymore. Or I don't like what you're doing. I go, oh, it looks like our ideas are different. Um, I'm still working really hard on putting my castle or whatever it was together. And then he crashed it again. He was like, you're not doing this. I'm taking these, like, I'm taking these, like, they're little magnetic squares. I'm taking these. Like, that's not the idea. And then we went into, I don't like your idea. Like, you're ruining things for me. I go, oh. So it goes back to something's hard right now.
Lovely.
So we started moving things to the side, and then he wanted to see what would happen. Like, I know him and his, like, train of thought. So then the kicking and the punching came out,
Oh boy.
where, like, the kick came to see my reaction, like the punch came to see my reaction. And for me, it's not that, I'm a punching bag, which, like, regardless of that, right? So I move back slightly and I go, this is always, like, at their level, right? So I'm, like, not standing over the child and talking from above. I'm still at his level. And I'm going, I get the kicking, and I'm going to let you know that I'm still going to be right here. Meaning, like, as dysregulated as you're going to get, I'm still going to be here for you. And I said, we're going to figure this out together. I get that this is hard. And it took, I want to say, I thought it was going to take longer, maybe 5 minutes, not even. And then he paused and he goes, I want to tell you the reason that I'm acting weird.
Wow.
And I said, and in my mind, I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
And I go, oh, what do you mean by weird? He goes, I feel like something's going on. Like, maybe, and he goes, maybe I'm getting a cold.
Oh,
I
so
go,
cute.
like, hold on. That kind of, like, introspection, and the fact that I reacted to you because something is going on for me. Like, I'm dysregulated. I'm uncomfortable. And he goes, I don't know what that was about.
Wow.
I was
Wow.
like, yeah, it sounds like something's going on for your body and you needed me to be here for you. Right. So it's not about him saying that he's never coming back, or
Right.
the fact that, like, he's going to kick me out or he's going to physically kick me. Like, it took, and this kind of introspection and the kind of relationship that we've built, like, it took time. It's not a 1 week kind of situation,
Right.
right? It's been months that we've been, like, figuring out some of the difficulties and some of the struggles. And then I said, it looks like we were here together and we figured out the problem that we were having. And he goes, yeah, I guess so.
Aw.
And as soon as he, like, we left this is one of those times where it's just, like, him and I in therapy. A lot of the times, like, the parents do come in and it's very client specific. So for him, it's just more beneficial for us to reflect afterward. So he came out, and the first thing he told mom is, I was acting kind of weird. And he's like, I kicked Paulina and, like, I threw things. And then I think it's because what happened before was that he took a nap and he was sweating.
Mm.
And mom was like, I don't know if he's coming down with something. And we know that when the body is not feeling well,
Right.
it takes all of our resources then to help it to feel better.
Right.
So the nervous system doesn't have enough resources to handle challenges. And he was like, yeah, it was something weird that happened. And I go, yeah. And it looks like we figured it out. Right. So I didn't distract him from being uncomfortable. Right. I didn't leave him to handle his own discomfort, to go, stop kicking me or else I'm going to remove myself. Right. I planted myself there and go, I'm still here for you pretty much no matter what. Like, we are still going to be in this space together. Like, we're going to figure this out. And we came out on the other side to like figure it out. And he left going, oh, I guess we could keep going with the idea the next time I come. I was like, great,
Oh,
let's
so
do
beautiful.
it.
And you know what I love about that? Like some people might think, like, what the heck does that mean to regulate the kid? For me to regulate, for me to self-regulate, for me to help the kids regulate, the kids acting like really they're kicking me, like what, But I love the language that you use that's very child appropriate. Oh, we figured it out. So what you're saying is like,
Yep.
oh, we regulated,
Yes.
right? And so I stood here until your nervous system calmed down. I didn't agitate it more. I didn't agitate myself more. I didn't create anything weird. I didn't give you any weird messages about you, yourself, your state, your body, anything like that. I didn't rupture our connection. I stayed planted. I moved myself back. Of course, I'm not going to be in danger or whatever. I mean, I don't know how much damage a kid could do, but I moved myself back a little bit, right? I moved my
Oh,
well, yeah, I'm sure they could do damage, but but so I moved myself back a little bit, right? So I'm not going to be that punching bag per se, but I give the message you could count on me. The attachment is there, the security is there, right? And in that stability, in the security there, that regulation happens, and then the language of we figured it out. Oh, gold, very
yes.
nice.
And then the security that you mentioned, that's also because I'm secure in my strategy and my approach. And
Yes.
that's sometimes, and that's like the most important thing that I work to teach parents. Because when kids come into therapy, I go, it's a whole family dynamic.
That's right.
Like, I need you on board, and you let me know. Like, let's say this is too much for you and you could be looking for a different approach. And I've had that also. You might be
Mhm.
looking for something that has consequences, that is more like behavior based, and you tested out this play nonsense, as you call it, and it doesn't work for you. And that's okay. Like, it's not for everybody, because it's so much harder. It really is. It's so much harder to go, I am in it and we're going to figure it out. And I'm going to be open enough to tell you that you're right. I'm not secure in my own like parenting style.
Mhm.
And the other part of it is what I hear from parents often. Well, what about the social norms? Right? Like,
Mm.
what are other people going to think if I don't give my child a consequence when they're throwing down in the middle of the street?
Hmm.
Like, and that's the what are other people going to think. It's more like that's where your own security comes in. Or when relatives go, like, this is what you should be doing, right?
Oh.
Like, how could you not, right? Like, extended family, right? How could you not like tell her that she's punished? Like, how could you not? And parents will say, well, what do I say? And I go, you respond with, thanks so much for your input, we're doing things a little differently.
Mhm. Totally.
Right? Because no one's really expecting that. When somebody's coming at you with
Right.
any kind of negative comment, they're expecting that in return. What they're not expecting is for you to take it in and turn it on them, to go, oh,
Oh, we got
I
this.
appreciate your,
Mhm,
yeah, I appreciate your insight. We got this handled.
mhm.
We're doing something different than what you expect. I get that. This is what's helpful for us as a family.
Yep. Beautiful. And
Kind of
also
like,
people back
thank you
off.
very much.
That's right, 100%. People back off when they see the results, right? The kid comes around and then the kid regulator as opposed to like they're in timeout now. There's whole this drama, everybody's involved, all this, they're waiting for the kid to come out of timeout or whatever all the things that people are doing, right? And I mean, when they see that it works, then it's easier to manage that criticism or observations or feedback or
Right.
whatever. But so hanging in there is helpful because then then you get more
Hanging
confident
in
and other people
there.
respond better.
Yes. And then there's also the repair, because I tell parents, like, there's no such thing as a perfect parenting style. Like,
That's right.
if you're seeking perfection, then that's a fixed mindset. Like, it doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
you are going to have these blowouts. Like, you're going to yell back. Of course you're going to yell back. There's no way that you're not going to. It's the repair that happens afterwards, to go, I am so sorry that my words were so loud.
Very
Like,
nice.
and you, like, that's your responsibility versus you made me yell at you, right? Or like, or I hear things like, you're making me feel sad. And then here comes the flip, and I go, how is your 5-year-old responsible for your emotions?
Right.
They're not actually making you feel anything,
Mm.
right? Or like, you're like, you did this, right? You made me mad.
If you
Right?
weren't behaving
Well,
so
you're,
badly, then I wouldn't be yelling.
yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Like you did, it's as if like you did this to me.
Right.
And like for the child is what I didn't like, I have that much power. Then like now the boundaries begin to change.
Oh boy,
Now
yes.
all of a sudden it's like the child is in charge. Like kids don't want to, as much as people say kids want control, they don't want to be in charge
Right.
because being in charge means like it comes with so much responsibility. Like they need those guardrails. They need the support to then be able to like push a little to see if it's still there. And then there's a way to still like hold your own and go, I get that this is what you're asking for. I'm just letting you know that yes, the rules at home are different than the rules at grandma's. That
Mhm.
happens. And now we're asking them to cognitively shift and adjust to different rules in different environments.
Yes, so that the regulation impacts all the different levels, right? Cognitive, physical,
Everything.
emotional. So any other thoughts about like the different aspects of that, and so parents understand more what's happening?
It does. So it impacts it does impact everything, especially like when you see like the what we see most is when kids get physical. What we don't see enough of or pay like really attention to is when kids shut down.
Mm,
And I also tell parents like that is even more dangerous than going outward is going inward.
mm,
When kids are in that frozen shut down state and like then the I guess preconceived notion is, well, now that they're standing still, they're listening to what I have to say.
mm,
And I'm telling you that when the brain is in that frozen state, right, it's in the mindset of no one sees me. Okay, stay as still as possible. Don't move. And then the danger will pass. Like
ugh,
it's there that they don't hear anything. There's like nothing going through because their cognitive and their linguistic systems, those are offline
mhm,
because now it's self preservation.
right.
Right. So, okay, like you yell and you shout out that no, and then they freeze. And then you begin your own, monologue of all the shoulds and should nots. And they're standing still and you think they're listening. They are so terrified, nothing's coming through. And then, like, it also, what's interestingly enough, a frozen state drains your reserves even more.
Right.
It is so like physically and inside your nervous system, it is so draining to actually be still when like people are attacking you, when there's danger all around. And even after, like sometimes the tantrums, like those are tiring. They're
Mhm.
tiring for the adult, they're tiring for the child. Like you need like
It's
something
expensive.
afterwards.
Mhm,
It is. It is. And your nervous system only has so much to give
right.
throughout the day. Where the other part is sometimes on the outside, kids look like they've recovered. And this is another important piece for parents. We're like, well, in 10 minutes, like they were fine. I go, right, on the outside, they were fine. On the inside, they're already teetering. They've
Mm,
hit max capacity. So I'm just going to let you know that like all the expectations that you thought you had, put those away because every little challenge is going to bring that rise back up. So, yes, they may look fine, but the nervous system hasn't resolved itself yet.
excellent. Do you know usually how long it takes to resolve itself, or is that very child specific?
So it's so interesting. Like people ask that question all the time, and I go,
Sure.
well, it depends on how much reserves they have.
Mm,
And also, if you're looking at it like from a trauma lens, right?
mhm,
Um, Sometimes it could take up to the next day to go, I'm steady. And then it also depends on, are there many more challenges happening during the day? And then it's like, what's the cost of that on the nervous system? On top of, what are you doing to like refuel?
Mm.
Like, what is that refuel like? And like, a lot of the times it's, we refuel with food, specific foods though, right? Like that's a whole other conversation. Like it really is, because we have to, like, the refuel happens with like nutrient dense
Right.
foods.
Not
Like
sugary things.
that's right. So like that's a refuel for
Carbs.
one. Rest is a refuel also. And then the relationship is a refuel. Like
Mm.
play is that refuel. Just like let's go eat, like easy breezy, some kids, like some of the kids I work with, they tend to go toward like drawing, or some of them, when the play becomes too tough, they like to write out the alphabet, right? That's regulating for them, because
Interesting.
it's right. So it's like, think about like why the numbers in alphabet, why is that regulating? Because there's a beginning and an end, there's a pattern that's involved, it never changes. And then they found that like that type of pattern is regulating for them
Lovely.
after having a moment that was like really, really tough. And then others will say, I need you to like turn off the lights. Like I gotta be like, this is too much. So I'm gonna sit in the dark for a bit. And I go, great, I can sit in the dark with you, right? I could sit in the dark with you. For older kids, like I would say preteen, I've had, and because there's also a trust piece where like I know that like the therapy room isn't going to get like tossed over. I've had kids say like, I need the space to myself. Like,
Oh, wow.
I know you're right outside the door. I just like, I can't have you in here. And I
Mm.
go, great. And the other part is parents ask like, well, how long? Right? Like,
Right.
are they going to be like, is it 5 minutes to regulate? Is it 10? And then sometimes when it's, like toward the end of, let's say, a session where like I've been asked to leave the room, and I go, great, I got it. And then I say, I'm just going to let you know that somebody else is coming. When you hear the doorbell, when you hear the doorbell ring, that's how you know that somebody else is here. You can definitely wait, outside in the waiting room. And we leave it matter of fact, right? Like I'm just letting you know,
Right.
not like you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because
Right.
what is time anyway? It's more, this is an event that's going to occur, that you're going to hear the doorbell ring. I'm, kind of going to need the space. You can be here. You could definitely be here. You could just, you could come out into the waiting room and do what you need to do. And when that happens, then it's like, there's also this agency that kids feel where it's like, oh, I'm like responsible for me, and
Mm.
I can figure this out. And I've had this happen with at that time he was like 10 or 11, where he was like throwing socks at me, and I was like, oh, I get where this is going. And he had asked me to leave the room, so I left. Within a couple of minutes he came back out,
Mhm.
and then he goes, are you going to tell my dad? And I said, tell him what? I go, whatever happened like between you and I, that can stay here. And I said, that's actually up to you. If you want, let's say like you want to let dad know that you had a hard time, you could let him know. And he's like,
Right.
no, I'm good. I go, okay. I'm good too.
Lovely. So good. Wow. Oh, so much yumminess in there. Like this is like a foreign language to parents because
Yes.
so a little backstory. I'm very much into attachment parenting and all the different things, right? And so my daughter at this point is an adult, but when she was little, I mean, I definitely tried to subscribe to as much of this as possible. And when I hear people's parenting styles, I cringe. And I try to offer as much of this stuff as possible. I don't have the eloquent language that you have, and all the different, like, the nuance of dealing with this diagnosis and stuff like that. But people are like, "Wait, what?" You know? And I just love hearing it coming from you and the stories and just how the kids react, and the role modeling of that and the implications of it. And when I hear it from another therapist, the way that you're explaining this, and is especially a therapist that works with the children themselves, and I hear like, okay, wow, yes, not for nothing, then the adults come to us later. You know, and
Mhm.
not for nothing, the people have problems with their own partners. So there's so much stuff in here. So it's just so beautiful and so rich. Thank you. And with that, we're going to pause here. This is an already very long conversation, and we actually go for longer time. And I decided to break this down into two podcasts. So I found this to be a good point to stop the recording so that you have enough material here to help you in your parenting of a neurodivergent child, or any child for that matter. You just tweak it. And also, what I love about this conversation so far, and actually keeps coming up as we continue this conversation, is that you could see how what's happening with the child and in the parenting, that potentially the way that you were parented, how that affected you as well. So I'm listening to this conversation with so many different ears. I'm having so much fun with Paulina. I hope you did too so far. And so I'm going to pause this here. The next episode is going to come out in 2 weeks. Stay tuned for that. For part two of this, the conversation continues, and we actually talk about what happens when you say no constantly to your child and as a parenting tactic. So we talk about that. We talk about how to do transitions. We talk about how to do co-parenting. A lot of times from the stories that I hear from you guys, when there's problems in the home or difficult moments in the home, it's because both parents are trying to take care of the situation, and just things escalate. And then a behavior problem becomes a fight between the parents, right? And so I'm sure you could relate to that. So we will be talking about all of that and more in part two. So stay tuned for that. And I hope that you enjoy this episode. I know that it's packed with value. So hopefully things resonated for you and you could use them immediately for yourself. And again, listen with that third ear and see what that means for you as a person, how you were parented, what you might need as a person as well. And you could bring that into your own personal growth. Stay tuned for the next one. In the meantime, have a fabulous next couple of weeks, and I will see you at the next one. Bye.